The snow had already turned red before anyone said a word. It spread slowly beneath her cheek, melting into the frozen ground, as if the earth itself was trying to swallow what it had just witnessed. Her breath came in thin, broken clouds. Each inhale rattled. Each exhale barely made it out. Her fingers clawed weakly at the ice, not to escape, not to fight back, just to feel something that proved she was still alive. Behind her, boots crunched hard. A hand grabbed her hair and yanked her head up. The world snapped into focus for a moment. The porch, the warped wooden steps, the woman standing above her, her mother. There was no hesitation in the way the woman moved, no anger left to burn out, only routine. Like chopping wood, like feeding animals. The back of the girl's head slammed against the edge of the step, a dull crack. The sound didn't echo. It was swallowed by the heavy sky and the watching silence. No one stepped forward. A few figures stood at a distance, bundled in coats, faces hidden behind scarves. They watched like people watching a storm roll in. Distant, powerless, or maybe just unwilling. The girl didn't scream. Not anymore. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out except a thin breath that fogged and vanished. Another strike. This time, her body didn't even try to brace. Her arms lay limp in the snow, fingers curled inward, as if even they had given up. The woman's grip tightened. She eats. She sleeps. She wastes air. She muttered more to herself than anyone else. That's all she's good for. She dragged the girl across the yard, boots carving two rough lines behind them. The girl's dress caught on frozen dirt, tore at the hem, but she didn't react. Her eyes were open, staring, empty, like something inside her had already left days ago. The woman stopped near the fence and shoved her down again. "Stand up." No response. A kick to the ribs. "Stand up." The girl's body flinched on instinct, but her legs didn't obey. She collapsed again, face pressing into the cold. A sharp breath escaped her throat. Not a cry, just pain leaking out in the smallest way it could. The woman raised her hand again, and then the wind shifted. It wasn't strong, not loud, but it carried something with it, a presence. One of the figures in the distance turned their head first, then another. The woman paused, her arms still raised. Slowly, almost reluctantly, she looked up. At the far end of the road, where the snow met the gray horizon, something moved. A shape. Tall, broad, walking against the wind like it didn't exist. Step after step, unhurried, unstoppable. The sound of his boots came late, delayed by distance, but once it reached them, it didn't fade. Each step pressed into the silence. Closer. Closer. The woman's hand lowered, not out of mercy, but because something in her calculation changed. The man stopped a few feet away. He didn't look at the onlookers, didn't acknowledge the house. His eyes went straight to the girl on the ground. He took her in with one glance, the blood, the torn dress, the stillness. Then he looked at the woman. Up close, he was larger than he seemed from afar. His coat was thick, worn from years of use, dusted with snow that had begun to melt into dark patches. A beard shadowed his jaw, untrimmed. His eyes, steady, heavy, the kind of eyes that had seen too much and stopped reacting to most of it. For a moment, no one spoke. The wind filled the gap. The woman straightened slightly, forcing a smirk that didn't quite hold. "She's mine," she said, her voice sharper than before. "My house, my blood. You keep walking." The man didn't answer. He stepped forward. "Just one step." The woman's smirk twitched. "That's far enough." He didn't stop. Another step. Now he was standing over the girl. He crouched down, slow and deliberate. The girl didn't react. Not when his shadow covered her. Not when his hand hovered near her shoulder. For a second, it looked like he might hesitate. But he didn't. His hand came down. Not rough. Not soft. Just certain. He turned her slightly enough to see her face. Her eyes moved. Barely. They found his. And something flickered. Not hope. Not yet. Just awareness. He held that gaze for a moment longer than expected. Then he stood. The woman let out a short, bitter laugh. "You see her now, you done? Then go." He turned toward her. The space between them felt smaller now, tighter. The onlookers shifted uneasily. Something in the air had changed. The man reached into his coat. The woman tensed. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a small leather pouch. He dropped it onto the snow between them. It landed with a dull weight. Coins. Enough to be heard without being counted. The woman's eyes flicked down, then back up. Suspicion first, then curiosity, then calculation. "She's not worth that," she said, though her voice softened just a fraction. He didn't argue, didn't bargain, didn't explain. He simply looked at her. The same steady, unblinking gaze. The woman bent slightly, nudged the pouch with her boot. Heavy, real. Her fingers twitched. From behind her mask of control, something uglier peeked through. Greed. "She breaks easy," she added, as if trying to reclaim power. "Doesn't work right. Barely speaks. No response. She's more trouble than she's worth." Still nothing. The silence stretched. The wind picked up again, carrying fine snow across the ground in thin, restless lines. Finally, the woman exhaled. Sharp, annoyed, but decided. "Fine," she muttered. "Take her." She straightened, folding her arms as if the matter no longer concerned her. But her eyes never left the pouch. The man didn't waste time. He bent down again. This time, when he lifted the girl, her body didn't resist. It barely moved at all. Weightless, like something already halfway gone. He pulled her against his chest, one arm supporting her back, the other under her legs. Her head fell against his shoulder. For a second, her fingers twitched against his coat. Gripping. Just barely. He adjusted his hold, securing her more firmly. Then he turned. No words. No farewell. He began walking back the way he came. Each step steady. Measured. The girl's face disappeared into the shadow of his coat. Behind them, the woman crouched quickly, snatching up the pouch. The onlookers began to drift away. The moment was over, like it had never mattered. But the tracks left in the snow told a different story. 2 lines going out, 1 set of boots returning, and something being carried between them. The wind tried to erase it, but not fast enough. Not yet. Hours earlier, before the blood, before the man, before the silence, had settled in. The girl had been awake long before the sun. There was no need for a call, no need for a command. Her body had learned the rhythm long ago. Wake before light, move before thought, work before pain had time to settle into something unbearable. The floor beneath her was hard, colder than usual. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did, but didn't allow it to matter. She pushed herself up slowly, careful not to make a sound. Every movement calculated, every breath shallow. The room was barely more than a storage space, a narrow corner, a thin blanket. No window, no warmth. She stepped out into the main area. The air smelled of smoke and something sour. Her mother was already awake, sitting at the table, watching. Always watching. "You're late." The words came flat. The girl didn't respond. She moved toward the stove hands already reaching for the wood. Too slow. A hand slammed against the back of her head. Her vision flashed white. "You hear me?" A nod. "Quick. Automatic. Then move faster." She did, splitting wood with hands that still shook from sleep, carrying water from outside the bucket heavier than it should have been. Each task blurred into the next. No breaks, no pauses, only movement. When she stumbled, it came without warning. Her foot caught on the edge of the rug. The bucket tipped. Water spilled across the floor. For a moment, everything froze. The girl stared at the spreading puddle, then at her mother. Silence. Then the chair scraped back violently. The woman stood. "You useless thing." The slap came fast, sharp. Her head snapped to the side. Before she could recover, another blow followed. Then another. Hands, fists, whatever was closest. The girl didn't fight, didn't raise her arms, didn't even step back. She took it. Because fighting made it worse. Because running never worked. Because somewhere along the way, she had learned that pain ended faster if you didn't resist. When it was over, she was left on the floor. Breathing. Barely. "Clean it up," the woman said, already turning away. "And don't make me say it again." The girl pushed herself up, slowly. Her hands trembled as she reached for a cloth. The water had already begun to freeze at the edges. She wiped it anyway, over and over, until the floor was dry, until her hands stopped feeling anything at all. Outside, the town moved on. People passed by the house, heard things, ignored them, because it wasn't their problem, because it had been happening for too long, because some things became invisible when they didn't stop. Later that day, a visitor came. Not a stranger. Someone known. Feared. His horse stopped just outside the fence, heavy hooves pressing deep into the snow. The girl saw him first through the crack in the door. Her body stiffened, her breath caught. The man stepped down slowly. Expensive coat. Clean boots. Eyes that didn't search. They claimed. He knocked once. Didn't wait. Walked in. The mother's tone changed instantly. Soft. Welcoming. False. "You came early." He ignored her greeting. His gaze moved past her. Found the girl. She tried to step back. There was nowhere to go. "Bring her here." The words weren't loud, but they didn't need to be. The mother grabbed her arm, pulled her forward, hard enough to leave marks. "Stand straight." The girl tried. Her legs shook. He circled her once. Slow, observing, like inspecting livestock. "She looks weak." "She works." The mother replied quickly. "Just needs firm handling." His hand lifted her chin, forced her to look up. Her eyes met his for a fraction of a second, then dropped. Too late. He had seen enough. "There are buyers coming through next week," he said. "Traveling men. They pay well for quiet ones." The mother didn't hesitate. "How much?" The number he gave made her eyes widen. Not in shock, in hunger. The girl's stomach twisted, not from fear, from something deeper, something colder. Final. The decision was made in that moment, not spoken, but sealed. "You'll have her ready," he added. A nod. "Of course. Always." When he left, the air felt heavier. The girl stood where she had been placed, still, silent. Her mother turned to her slowly. A smile spread across her face. Thin. Sharp. "You hear that?" No answer. "You might finally be worth something." The girl's gaze drifted toward the door, toward the road, toward nothing, because there was nowhere left to go. That night, she didn't sleep. Not because she couldn't, because there was no point. Morning would come, and with it something worse than anything she had known before. Or maybe not worse, just final. And when the sun rose again, the first blow of the day came harder than usual, like her mother was already practicing letting go. That was the morning the blood hit the snow. That was the morning the man appeared. That was the moment everything should have ended. But somehow, it didn't. The wind did not ease as he carried her away. It clawed at his coat, pushed against his steps, tried to turn him back toward the town he had already left behind. But he did not slow. Each step pressed deeper into the snow, carving a path that did not hesitate. The girl lay in his arms like something fragile and half-forgotten. Her head rested against his shoulder, her breath uneven, barely strong enough to warm the fabric beneath her cheek. She did not ask where he was taking her. She did not ask why. The strength for questions had been beaten out of her long ago. All she knew was that the hands holding her were different. They did not hurt. They did not shake with anger. They did not demand anything from her. They simply held. That alone felt unreal. The mountain rose ahead of them, dark and silent against the pale sky. A place most people avoided. Too cold, too unforgiving, too far removed from anything that resembled comfort. But he walked toward it, like it was the only place left that made sense. Hours passed without a word. When her body began to tremble uncontrollably, he stopped. Not because she asked, because he noticed. He shifted her carefully, lowering her onto a patch of ground shielded slightly by a cluster of rocks. The wind still cut through, but less directly. He moved quickly then. Efficient. Stripping branches from a nearby tree. Striking flint. Building a fire that struggled at first, then caught, then grew. The girl watched through half-lidded eyes. Every movement deliberate, every action done without wasted effort. He returned to her side, pulling off his outer coat and wrapping it around her shoulders. It was heavy, warm, smelled of smoke and cold air and something older, something steady. She flinched when the fabric touched her skin, not from pain, from memory. Hands had always meant harm. He paused. His hand hovered near her shoulder. For a moment it seemed like he might pull away. But he didn't. He adjusted the coat around her tighter this time, securing it. Then he sat across from her, just outside the reach of the firelight. Watching. Not her. The horizon. Always the horizon. She shifted slightly, the motion weak but intentional. Her fingers curled into the edge of the coat, holding it, testing it, as if it might be taken away if she didn't keep a grip. Her voice came later, barely more than air. It was the first word she had spoken in days. He heard it. Of course he did. But he didn't answer, not because he refused, because he had nothing simple enough to give. Silence settled again. But it wasn't the same silence she had known before. This one didn't press down on her chest, didn't threaten, didn't wait for her to fail. It simply existed. Night came fast in the mountains. The temperature dropped with it. The fire burned low. He fed it once, then again, each time checking her without looking like he was checking. Her eyes closed at some point, not in fear, not in exhaustion alone, but in something unfamiliar, something close to rest. When she woke again, it was darker, colder. The fire had died down to embers, and he was gone. Panic came instantly, sharp, violent. Her body jerked upright before her mind could catch up. The coat slipped from her shoulders. The cold hit like a blade. Her breathing quickened. Too fast. Too loud. Her eyes searched the darkness. Nothing. No footsteps. No voice. No shadow. Just the wind. And the empty space where he had been. For a moment, it felt like everything had reset. Like the morning had never happened. Like she had imagined the entire thing in some desperate attempt to survive. Her hands clenched. Her chest tightened. She tried to stand. Her legs gave out. She fell forward into the snow. Cold flooded through her. The kind of cold that didn't just touch the skin. It reached deeper, pulled at something inside. She forced herself up again, this time crawling. Not away. Nowhere to go. Just moving. Because staying still felt like disappearing. Then a sound. Heavy. Measured. Coming back. She froze. Her breath caught halfway in. The shape appeared first. Then the man stepped into the faint glow of the dying embers. Something hung from his hand. He dropped it near the fire. A rabbit. Fresh. Blood still warm against the cold air. He didn't look surprised to see her on the ground. Didn't ask why she had moved. He simply stepped forward. Picked her up again. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like she had never been anywhere else. He set her back where she had been before. Pulled the coat around her again. This time she didn't flinch. Her hands moved on their own, gripping the front of it, holding it closed. He knelt by the fire. Fed it. The flames returned slowly. Light filled the space again. He worked in silence, skinning the rabbit, cutting meat, placing it over the fire. The smell reached her before the warmth did. Her stomach reacted instantly, twisting, tightening. She hadn't realized how empty it was until now. He handed her a piece when it was ready. No words, just extended his hand. She stared at it, then at him, waiting for a trick, for a command, for the cost. None came. Slowly, carefully, she took it. Her fingers brushed his for a second. They were rough, warm, alive. She pulled back quickly, held the meat like it might vanish, then took a bite. Too fast. Too big. Her body protested, but she didn't stop, didn't slow, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering. He watched. Only once did he reach forward, not to take it, to steady her hand, so she wouldn't choke. That small movement lingered longer than anything else. The fire crackled. The wind howled beyond the rocks. But inside that small circle of warmth, something shifted. Not safety. Not yet. But the beginning of it. By the time the sun rose again, they were already moving. Higher, further into the mountain. The path grew steeper. The snow deeper. The air thinner. She walked when she could. Stumbled often. Fell more than once. Each time he waited. Not impatient. Not frustrated. Just still. Until she found her balance again. And when she couldn't, he lifted her. Without comment. Without hesitation. The cabin appeared near midday. Small, rough, built into the side of the mountain like it had grown there. Smoke did not rise from it. Not yet. But the structure stood firm against the wind. He pushed the door open. The inside was dark. Cold, but intact. He stepped in first. Set her down gently on a narrow bed, then turned immediately to work. Fire. Wood. Movement. The same rhythm as before. but faster now, more urgent, because the mountain did not forgive weakness. Not here. Not this high. She watched from the bed, every motion, every step, trying to understand the pattern, trying to predict what came next. But there was no pattern she recognized, no sudden anger, no punishment for silence, no demand for perfection, only survival, shared. When the fire finally caught, the room filled with heat. Slow, gradual, real. She felt it reach her fingers first, then her arms, then her chest. Something loosened, just slightly. He brought her water, warm this time. She hesitated, then drank, carefully, watching him over the rim. He sat across the room, far enough not to crowd, close enough to act if needed. The distance felt intentional, respectful in a way she didn't have a word for. Hours passed, neither spoke. The silence returned, but again, not the same silence she had known before. This one allowed space, allowed breath, allowed existence without fear. She lay back slowly. The blanket beneath her was rough, but it was dry, warm, safe enough. Her eyes closed, then opened again. She looked at him, still there, still watching the fire, still not asking anything of her. Her voice came again, softer this time. What do I do? It wasn't a question about the moment. It was everything, all at once. He didn't look at her immediately. When he did, his answer was simple. Stay. Just that. Nothing more. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, she did. The quiet never lasted long in the mountains. It only waited. Days passed without count. The rhythm inside the cabin settled into something simple. Fire in the morning, water hauled from the frozen stream, small meals shared in silence, repairs to the roof, tracks checked at the edge of the clearing. He spoke little, only when needed. She learned to move without being told, not out of fear, out of watching, out of understanding what kept them alive. Her hands, once shaking from weakness, began to steady. She learned how to split kindling without splitting her skin, how to wrap cloth tight enough to stop bleeding, how to keep the fire from dying when the wind turned. At night, the storms came. They rattled the walls, drove snow through every crack, made the world outside disappear into white noise and shifting shadows. But inside, the fire held, and he was always there, until the morning he wasn't. She woke to silence, not the quiet she had come to recognize. This was different, empty. The fire had burned low, barely alive. The door stood slightly open. Cold air drifted in, carrying with it the scent of something wrong. She pushed herself up too fast. Her body protested. She ignored it. Stepping toward the door, she hesitated only once before pushing it wider. Outside, the snow told the story. Boot prints, not his. Too many, too fresh. They circled the cabin, closed in. Her chest tightened. The breath she took didn't feel like it reached her lungs. Then she unwore it. A mark carved into the wood beside the door. Crude, deliberate. A sign she didn't understand. But she knew what it meant. They had found them. The sound came next, distant at first, then clearer. Voices. Men, moving through the trees. Her body reacted before her mind could. She stepped back inside, closed the door, barred it. Her hands moved quickly now, not shaking, not frozen, moving the way his had. She grabbed what she had seen him prepare before, a knife, a piece of rope, a heavy iron tool from beside the hearth. Her breathing slowed, not calm. Focused. The door creaked. A shadow passed across the window. Then another. "Open up," a voice called. Not loud. Confident. Certain. She didn't answer. The handle moved. Stopped. Moved again, harder. The wood groaned under pressure. "Girl," another voice added closer now. "We know you're in there." Her grip tightened around the iron. Her back pressed against the wall beside the door, exactly where she had seen him stand once before. The first strike hit the door like a hammer. Wood splintered. The bar held. For now. Another strike. Louder. Closer. The hinges strained. She swallowed hard. Not from fear. From something sharper. Resolve. The third strike cracked the wood. Light broke through the gap. A hand forced its way inside, reaching for the bar. She moved. Not fast. Not wild. Precise. The iron came down hard against the wrist. A sharp crack. A scream. The hand withdrew instantly. The voices outside shifted. Anger now. Real anger. Break it down. The next hit shattered part of the frame. The bar snapped loose. The door burst inward. Snow and cold flooded the room along with them. 3 men. Heavy coats. Weapons drawn. Eyes searching. They saw her immediately. Standing there. Not running. Not hiding. The first one stepped forward with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "There you are." He reached out. She didn't step back. She swung again. The iron caught him across the side of the face. Bone met metal. He dropped hard. The second man lunged. Faster. Stronger. His hand closed around her arm, twisting it behind her back. Pain shot through her shoulder. Her knees buckled. The knife fell from her hand. She gasped, air leaving her in a broken sound. "Enough," he muttered, tightening his grip. The third man kicked the fallen one aside and stepped closer, wiping blood from his mouth. "You should have stayed quiet." The words barely left his lips before something changed. Not in the room. Outside. A sound. Low. Deep. Familiar. The man holding her froze, just for a second, but it was enough. The doorframe filled with a shadow. Then he stepped in. Snow clung to his coat. Blood marked his sleeve. His eyes moved once across the room, took in everything. The broken door. The men. The girl. The hand gripping her arm. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The man holding her shoved her forward, drawing his weapon. "Stay back," he warned. Too late. The mountain man moved. Fast. Faster than before. The first man barely raised his gun before it was knocked aside. A strike to the throat dropped him without a sound. The second fired. The shot echoed. Too wide. The mountain man closed the distance, driving him into the wall with a force that shook the entire cabin. Wood cracked. The man slumped. Gone. The third turned to run. He didn't make it past the threshold. A hand caught his coat, pulled him back. Hard. The fight didn't last long. It never did. When it was over, the only sound left was the fire struggling to stay alive, and her breathing. Fast. Unsteady. She stood where she had been forced, arms trembling, eyes wide. He turned to her slowly, not checking the men, not checking himself, checking her. She tried to speak. Nothing came out. He stepped closer. One hand lifted, paused, then rested gently against her shoulder. "Solid. Real. You stayed," he said. Her knees gave out. Not from pain, from everything that came after it. He caught her before she hit the floor. held her there, the same way he had the first day. But this time she didn't feel like something broken being carried away. She held on to him, tight, not out of fear, out of knowing she wouldn't be dropped. That night the storm came harder than before. Wind howled through the broken door. Snow drifted inside. But the fire burned, because he kept feeding it. Because she did too. They worked side by side. No words. Only movement. Only survival. Later, when the storm settled into a steady roar, she saw it. She saw it. The thing he had kept hidden. Tucked inside a small wooden box near the far wall. It had been knocked loose during the fight. The lid lay open. Inside, wrapped in cloth, was a photograph. Old, worn at the edges. She picked it up carefully. A woman stood in the center, strong, eyes steady. Beside her, a child, small, wrapped in a coat too big for her. The resemblance wasn't exact, but it was there, in the eyes, in the shape of the face, in something deeper. She looked up. He stood across the room watching her, not angry, not surprised, just waiting. Her voice came quietly. "Who is she?" He didn't answer immediately. His gaze dropped to the fire, then back to the photograph. "My wife," he said. A pause. "And my daughter." The words settled into the room. Heavy. Final. What happened? This time the silence stretched longer. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. They were taken. Not killed. Not lost. Taken. He stepped closer, taking the photograph from her hand, carefully, like it could still break. "Men came through the valley years ago," he continued. "Same kind, same signs." Her eyes flicked toward the mark on the door. Understanding began to form. "I found what was left," he said. "No detail, none needed. The weight of it filled the space. I've been looking since." His eyes met hers, not searching, not asking, just stating truth. She swallowed. Her chest tightened. Not from fear, from something else. Something that felt like being seen for the first time. "You didn't find her," she said. A simple statement. Not cruel. Just real. He nodded once. The fire cracked. The wind pressed harder against the walls. She looked back at the photograph, then at him, then down at her own hands. Bruised. Scarred. Still shaking. "You found me." The words came before she could stop them. They hung there. Between them. He didn't respond, but something in his expression shifted. Small, almost invisible, but real. The next morning came quieter. The storm had passed. The world outside was clean again, covered in fresh snow. No tracks, no signs of what had happened, except for the broken door. He repaired it before anything else. Wood cut, fitted, secured. She watched, then stepped forward, picked up a tool, worked beside him. Not because she was told, because she chose to. The movements were slow at first, then steadier. Together they finished before the sun reached its highest point. When it was done, he stepped back, looked at it once, satisfied. She stood beside him, breathing in the cold air. The mountains stretched out before them, endless, quiet. No voices, no hands reaching, no eyes watching. Just space, just time. She shifted slightly, closer, not touching, but close enough to feel the warmth from his side. He didn't move away, didn't step closer either. They stood like that for a while, until the wind picked up again. Gentler this time, carrying something new with it. Not danger, Not yet. Something softer. Something that didn't need to be named. Inside, the fire waited. Outside, the world remained vast and unforgiving. But for the first time, she wasn't facing it alone. If this story kept you watching until the end, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories.